So in the Python, conditions and statements, we'll understand what are conditions, what are statements further. Before that, let me just give you the logical conditions or the operators that Python use. Okay, so we have read all those relational and the logical one, right? So there we have equals, which is an equal to sign, and you represent as A equals to B, right? Just like that, right? Then we have not equals. We'll be using not equals, which is like A is not equals to B. Similarly, we will having a greater one, that stands for A greater than B and such, right? For the lesser, we have just A less than B. Okay, someone escaped. Similarly, for the next also, we have greater than and the less than, right? So greater than suggests for like A is greater than equals to B, alright, and lesser than equals to, let it be equals to. Now this will suggest you just A as less than equals to B. Okay, these are the just of the operators, or you can say as your just the conditions you'll be using in your uh, if else, right? So, do one thing. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's merge these things. Alright, so these are the conditions ones, and yes, fine. So see guys, conditions, what are conditions? So if we talk on the conditions, so the boolean expressions you have seen, you can see above or whatever you have seen till now are considered as the conditions. Okay, whatever the boolean expressions you have seen. Okay, but the same thing as for of the expressions too. So you can define the condition as just a more specific name in context to a flow control statement. So what we'll be dealing. Okay, so conditions always evaluate down to a boolean value, which will be always either the true or the false, right? So a flow control statement decides what to do based on whether a condition is true or it is false. Yeah, and every almost flow statement just uses a condition with you. Okay, so we'll try to understand how it works. So these conditions can be used in several ways, for most commonly in the if statements and elif statements. Okay, so mostly these will be used in the if statement. Okay, we have three statements in the conditionals that are if, else if, and the elif, right? So we'll be using these conditions in the if statement or either in the elif statement, but not in the else statements. Okay, we'll be not using in those things. Okay. So what is decision making? So it is required when we want to just execute a code only if in a certain condition. Okay, so we'll be using these codes to just satisfy a particular condition. Okay, fine. So let's see how it works. So for example, when we talk about the if statement, when we see for the if statement what an if statement could have, how it should work, right? So program execution depends on the various type of statements you are using. Okay, So the first, and not only the programs execute just by simply going straight down for the conditions you have written and just you. So if you use your finger to trace through a program, just like let me write for the line numbers. So we'll be using the line numbers here. So you can use these things to just make sure of whether a particular line is correct or any particular problem is there just by using the lines are hand to hand on your codes. Okay. So in the flow control statement when come, let me write STETEMENTS. So when you come to the flow control statements, we have commonly, as I said, if statement, elif statement, and the else statement. So in the if statements, the most common, these are the most common type of the flow control statement. Okay. So the if statement, if you write on, I will write the if so the if statement the if statement is a statement, or you can call it as a kind of a clause, which is having a block which will execute the conditions written or the this block of codes written inside the if statement. Okay, so I'll write it as if statement will execute if statement is true. That's it. So if you go in the detail, not much in the detailed description, just like a common things. So if statement is the statement which will execute what I have written is a statement is a statement which will execute if the condition is true. That's all, right? So this will run only if the condition is true. Okay. So in plain English, if you say, so this is kind of a statement which is read as the state the condition which is true or execute the codes, that is right. So what are the things and if statement have? So if statement consists of, so now we'll define what are the things we are having in these statements. The first one we have in the if is the if keyword itself. Okay, the where it has on. The second thing we have here is a condition, that is a kind of an expression that evaluates down to again the true or the false, right? The third we have a colon there, and the fourth thing we are having here is the starting on the next line or and indented block of code. Also you can call the if clause, that can be called as an if clause. So guys, these are the things which should be focused while doing the if one. Alright, so these are the things which we have when we write a particular if statement. For example, let's say you have a code, I'll be doing a code there, so that will check to see whether someone's name is particular, whatever, let it be anything while we're writing on. So pretended name will be assigned previously and then we'll check for it. So if we go for the syntax of if, syntax, so the syntax particularly start as, if we go for the syntax there, so we have the syntax as you go and you do the if test expression whatever you have written. So if the test expression and then on the just put our colon there if you can see it. So just put a colon, and then your statements are given out. Okay, so there can be a multi number of statements. Okay, so here the program first evaluates the test expression what you have written, this one, and then it goes to execute the statements only if the text expression is your true. Understand? So these are the things. So if your text expression become false, you will be definitely giving some other statements to move on, right? So if your test statement is wrong, you will be doing something other than this. So that will be called as your the next of the statements, that is else and elif out there. Okay. So if the statement is correct, that will interpret 1, and if it is false, you will be interpreting as the 0 out there. Okay, understood. So these are the things which will be focusing on the if statement or elif one. You can just return. Alright. Yeah. Moving on. So let's run this, and okay, this could be probably in the side. Yes, you can write it as like that. So let's say just we are having a name and we'll check it. Okay, so let's say a name, or let's say a word. So we are having a word. Let it be Jacob. Alright. Now we'll be checking whether the word is equals to Jacob or not. Okay. So if my word is equals to Jacob, so see guys, first you write your if, okay, as per the given what you have the if keyword. So we have written the if keyword there. Then you have a condition. So this is my condition, that if my word is equals to Jacob, okay. Then we put a colon over there. So yeah, here put a colon, and this could be the ng. And then starting on the next line, an indented block. So what is indentation, guys? See, now indentation would be, you can call as one tab or one space particularly. So the Python relies on the indentation, the white space you will be getting here in just below the if. So those things will be called as the indentation, and those things are used to define the scope in a code. Okay, we'll discuss what are those things later. Okay, so whenever you just write a colon and then just you print the enter, you will be getting some white spaces by default here. These are called as an indented block. Okay, so if you think like that, you have just make a messy or here, or you don't want these things, so you'll be giving a backspace and you'll be writing from here, but that will cause an error because it will give you an indented error. Okay, so that especially defines that your indentations are wrong. So just put a one tab over here and you will be again back to your places. Okay, so if you have written the if keyword, you have written the you can say for the condition, and now you'll be writing a statement. So if the condition is true, what the statements I have to execute? So I have to execute just the print one. So I'll printing hi and then the word. Alright. So see, I can see a invalid statement. Alright, sorry. So this will be a comparing statement. So this will be an equals to. Okay. So if you run this, so you'll be seeing hi Jacob there. Right? Understood. So my word is a Jacob there, and this is the correct statement I have written. So it interprets one over there, and then it runs whatever the following statement says. So it says hi and then the word. So hi has been printed, and then the word, which is your Jacob, has been printed. Understood. So these are the things how an if statement works on. So you just provide you can say expressions and just a condition over there to run on. Okay. So let's take another thing. Let's take another example to make you more comfortable with that. So all the flow control statements just end up with a colon, and it's followed by a new block of code which is called as a clause of and just whatever the statement you are using. Okay, so these are the clause of if statement. Okay, so the if statement is the clause of the if statement, you can say, is the block of with the whatever I have written as hi or word, right? So I'll also show you how this loop structures how these goes on. Can't we use the parentheses to wrap up the conditions? You can't give exactly the parentheses there. Okay. So that can be done in case of I think C or C plus plus. Yeah, yeah, you are talking like we do. No, 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 not exactly. Okay, so let's take if the number is just a positive number, we'll be printing a correct one. Okay, so how we'll get to see if a number is a positive number or not? Okay, I'll know that it is a positive number or not. So let's take this is a positive testing. Okay, so let's just hope that I have number that is 5. Alright, and I have number 2. This is my number 1, and I have number 2 which is minus 6. Let it be there. Alright, now I'll be writing my conditions. So how will I judge whether a number is a positive or not? If the number is greater than 0, 100% it will be positive. So I'll be writing if the number 1 is greater than 0. So I put a comma there, so colon there, and I'll print. If it is greater than 0, then it's a positive number. So we are dealing with the if still, okay, so not going to the other statements. So I'm writing that it is a positive number, that's all, okay. So if it is not a positive number, nothing will be printed out, okay. If it is not a positive number, nothing will be printed out there. So if I run this, sorry, so it says it's the positive number, right? Now if I take the same conditions and if I write the if the number 2 is greater than 0, if any particular number, so if number 2 is less than 0, I'll be printing negative number. Now that can be any state. So it says it's a negative number, right? So in place of using these two separate if, what we'll do, we'll combine with these particular things. So before going to again the if1, so you have understood, right, how the says it will check first the number is greater than 0 and then will execute the bodies. Okay, fine. So similarly, we have the else statement to work on. Now these else statement, let me write it as alright. So this else statement, and if you define that kind of an if clause that has an optional method, so if the condition in the if statement is incorrect, will move this to the else statement. Okay. So if you can say that if the condition is true, this executes the code, or if the condition is false, so we'll move to the else statement. That is just a particular definition of an else statement, you can say. So here we have the else clause that will be only executed if the if statement is wrong. Okay. So similarly, we have all the things here in the else statement too. Just the same things I'm not writing. So you have again the same things as for the else keyword there, and then you just put a colon, but just have a difference of these things once again. So these have just a very basic difference. So they have a code called as else, and but there is no conditions. Alright, then they have a colon and then just a starting or indented line, you can say. Okay, so these are the things we work in the else statement. These are the basic structures of that. So call the else. Yes. So here we have only these three other things to work on. I think no one is coming there more. So let me zoom in this one. Okay. So this can be executed. Let me the first example of this number positive testing. So there what I'll call it as. So if my number 1 is greater than 0, so I will be printing that it is a positive number. And if it is not so, what I'll doing is that I'll apply else, and I'll write that print, let's say, negative number. So that depends now, right? So we have number 1, or you can take a number 1 from a user input. Okay, so you can take a number input from the user and can define whether you are going to get a positive number or a negative number or so on, right? So if your number 1 is greater than 0, we'll just print, we'll check for a condition first and we'll print that it is a positive number. And if it is not, so what to do? We'll just straightforward go to the else statement, and there you have a code to just run on. So you have it, that is a negative number. If it is not a positive, definitely it's a negative one. So there to go, and if you just write down a number, let's see 5. So 5 is a positive number. If you just write down the code again and we will give a minus, so this is a 100% a negative number. This is how it runs on. Okay. So if in these cases, what happens? Your syntax would be in these cases, you first write the if test expression, and then just you put a colon over there, and then you run this. One second. Right, and then you give a tab. Let me write it here. So there it comes for the body of if, or the statement you can say. Then the body of if is executed, and if it is not executed, what we'll do, we'll go in the else one, and then we'll be standing for the body of else. Okay, so that can be done just if you understand it like if I am not, you can understand it like, let's say I have in the, I think that there are one. There we started to the oops. All right. So we have selector statements. So not in the switch one. We don't have switch. We have the if statement which evaluates to a single condition. We have the if else statement which evaluates to a group of conditions. You can say, and let it be. So the if control statement just evaluates. You just go to the start. Let me give you. So you first start your program, then you check whether your if condition is true. So if it is true, you will go to, you will be going to the conditional code and you will executing this. Okay, and then you will come to an end of the program, right? After the conclusions, you will be coming to the end of the program. Similarly, when your condition becomes false, so in that case, you will be directly going to end the program. That's all. Okay, this is how the if statement works on. All right. Yeah. So these are the block of codes. You have the if statement, the body, the else, and the body of the else. Similarly, right? So there are a lot of questions to work on if and else. A lot of things to just work on the if. There are a lot of practice questions. Yesterday I gave you some a drive link, right, guys? Yesterday I gave a drive link to you. What exactly is that in the drive? Let me show you. Uh, since one, check it. All right, let me show you. So there are a list of assignments there. What you have to do is you just do one questions. So not to do all at the one. Okay. So every day assignment is defined there. So we have read these things: the comment, integer, float, length, input, arithmetic operators, variables, and the strings. So you can go with this assignment. I think you may have completed this one too. So you can go with these things, right? You have dealt with it. Okay. Meanwhile, if you don't understand any question, you can just WhatsApp, right? Similarly, you have assignment 2, which is having the comparison operators and the Boolean operators. So you can go with this also. You can just complete one this too. Similarly, you have assignment 3. There, I think there will be conditional statements. So these are the things we are dealing to today, right? So they will be getting these codes of question, around 20 questions there to work on, right? So you'll be getting string concatenation, assignment operators we have done. Meanwhile, let me see any string questions over there. Circumference, characters, equilaterals, number is prime or not. Okay, check a number is prime or not. I'll be dealing with some of the libraries to check how you can check it very fastly. Okay, fine. So there might be some questions which you cannot solve. No, don't need to worry. We'll be doing in the class. So we'll be working on the conditional statements today. We'll be working on the conditional tomorrow also. And there is okay. So you can see tomorrow also you'll be getting a sum of the condition. Okay, so you can solve one by one, not to solve everything at one, because you will be going there. And if you solve the ninth one, you'll be getting directly the dictionaries one, right? So these are the basic assignments given on the basis. Okay. Meanwhile, in the class when we'll do tasks, those will be based on some of the higher modules. All right. So we did how we just can go to the number and then you can just. So there are a lot of questions to practice on the if and else. So we have dealt with the if, we have dealt with the else one. Similarly, we can go to the statement to read on how the elif statement works on, right? So the elif statement also works on the principle how the else works, right? So there first comes the checking of the condition if. So if the condition is false, inside or in place of going directly to the else, what we do is we just jump to one particular statement and we'll check whether this statement is correct or not. So let me show you this slide there and they can work for that. So if else statement is kind of a statement where you just start your program, you come to the if condition. Okay, so in the if condition you will be checking if your condition is true, you will be executing, you will checking the if the code is correct, just you will be doing the conditions and you will be ending your program. Okay, and if your condition become false, so you directly don't go to end the program. Okay, what you do, you just go to check whether the elif condition, not the else if, whether these are the things in the R. In the Python you have elif condition. So in the elif condition you check if the code is correct, if the else if code is correct, so you'll go to conclude this and then end the program. And if the elif also is wrong, so you just go to the else one and then you can just end the program. Okay, this is how it comes on. So let me write. So in the elif statement, you can say while only if or the else clauses will execute. You may have a case where you want to just make many possible clauses to execute on. Okay. So the elif statement is an else if statement that always follows an if or another elif statement, right? So it provides another condition that is checked only if any of the previous conditions you have written in the if or maybe let it be if there. Okay, so if these are the false, only if the conditions are false there in the if, so that will be running in the elif statements. Okay, so similarly elif also have the same things as we have here, not here, we have in the if. So elif will also work as the same. So let's copy. Oh no, copy it. So yeah, pasting there. So you have elif, that is a combination of an else and if statement, and you just pass on the syntax to, I'll writing the syntax also. Okay. So the syntax of the body would be, just in between all these, we'll put an elif over there. So there your syntax would be a kind of an elif statement, and the elif also will have the text expressions and the same colon and the tag and then the body. That's all. Alright, so these are the statements you'll be having there. Again, the same procedures, right? So, what kind of questions you can come in the elif? What kind of questions can come or lie inside the elif? Okay, so how you can come to that, right? So, what are the questions you'll be having in the elif statements? Kind of the things, right? So, in the above, let's say this particular statement, we find whether a number is a positive number or negative number, right? So what in case a number is equals to 0? What will the cases when we write for that? So we'll write again, just copy these codes. So there, if a number is greater than 0, we just write on that it is a positive one. If it is less than 0, we just give it as a negative number, right? What if the number becomes 0, exactly 0? So we'll write a statement here, elif number 1 you can just write it as 0. Alright, so what comes here, see, let me write the line numbers. So in the line 1 it will check the number input. Let's take the input 1. In the line 2 it will check whether number 1 is greater than 0. So if this becomes 1, that is if this becomes true, so this line 3 will be executed on. Understand? So if this become false, it will not go straightly to the line number 6. It will go to the line number 4 and will check whether this is 0 or not. If it is 0, then it will execute the line 5. And if this is also wrong, so then it will go to the line number 6 and then will execute the 7. Okay. So this have an option to check the another condition too. So when you have an option to check more than one conditions, what you do is you will be writing it there in the elif ones. Okay, so these are the statements how to execute. So let's say we have written 0, so this will be just printing out the 0. Understood? So these are the things which we take in the if and the elif cases. Okay, so you have the assignments of the if and elif there. So just take a Python code. There you have a lot of questions to work on the elif one. Meanwhile, some of the questions could not be solved there. That's no issues for that. That's like for the prime number checking or not, or that's all. Okay, so let's do some of the questions. Anyone having any problem in the FLs? Where you are here? Any problems in the FLs? To anyone in understanding of the FLs?
Can you repeat the elif one, please? Elif one.
See, in the elif one, what you do, you just come in the if statement. You first come in the program and then you check whether the if statement is correct. So if it is not correct, in place of going to the else statement, you just go to an optional statement, that is your if elif statement, where you check in another conditions. So if that condition is not satisfying you, so then you will going to the elif one. So here we came to the just a number input, and then we check whether the number is greater than 0. So if it is 0, we'll just greater than 0, we'll be just writing it for a positive number, and in place the previous codes. So if it is not greater, what we'll write, that it is a negative number. So what if it becomes 0? So we did that. If the number is equals to 0, we'll print 0. So there we just check an else if condition. So if it is not, we'll go to else, and there also we can check a condition using the else statement. Okay, these are the things.
Yes, sir.
All right. So when you come, there a question is there that how to just use the check the whether a particular thing is a prime or not. So you have two options. Might you will get on the internet, like for when you will search on the internet that how to print a prime number in Python, you will be only getting these methods that for a number in y or something like that. Okay, you'll be getting a with the prime number or for loops. Okay, so you'll be getting it with the loops over there, right? So we have a library specially called as SymPy. Okay, that is your. We have a special library for these things. We have Simpy, we call that Simpy. Okay. So these library, this is not exactly not you can call it a library. These are the modules you can call as. So this is basically a Python module which contains some really you can say this very cool prime numbers related to the library functions, right? So how you'll check that? There you have a lot of features to work on, like if it is a number is a prime or non-prime. If you want to find a prime number between a particular range of numbers, right? So you can just do with all these things in the library. First of all, you have to do is to just import the functions. So you'll be importing the SymPy, and then let's say if you want to see whether a number is a prime number or not. Okay, in place of just going for the for and all these things, if you want to just see whether a number is a prime or not, you will just writing it as, let's see, uh, print, let's take simpy dot is, and then you have to see whether the number is increasing or a series is increasing, decreasing, convex, or everything. So we'll be checking whether it's a prime or not. That's all. Okay. So whether a number is 5, let's take 5 or 10, any number. So whether it is prime or not. So it says it's a prime number. That's all, right? So you can just see. So let me import the simpy as I'll be writing it as sp. So I'll be just printing that sp dot is prime, and you can take any number to check whether it is a prime number or not. Okay, these are the very easy things to work on. So if you want the help of that, you'll be getting a 2 module of. If you execute this, you will heading towards the simpy package over there. So if you click on that, you'll be heading towards a website of that, and then you can just go on to see how it works, what other things it takes down. So you can use the projects using the simpy has been generated. A lot of projects has been done using the simpy, right? So there are things to work with these libraries. There are just all you can say a lot of things when you work with the libraries, right, or modules particularly. So yes, moving on there, and so there are operations you'll be getting to understand what are the things going on. Now let's see if you want to see the just a prime number range of, you can say, let's say in the between of a two number, like we do in the for loop, we just come in the C also you might have done it like that. In every case we just use the for loops and to find out that. So if you want to just, because everywhere we don't have a library, all right, so we just use the for loops. So now if we want, if I want to check a prime range number, if you say, okay, if I want to check a prime range, let me be sp. If I want to check just to check a prime range of some numbers, you can say, or list of some numbers. So if I just want a prime range of, let's say I want numbers from 0 to 100, I want to check what are the prime numbers having from the 0 to 100. So there would be a list of all these things. We'll be discussing it later. So you'll be getting a list. Okay, just in place of just write print over there. So you'll be getting a list of numbers. Those are prime between the 0 to 100. So you get 2, 3, 5, and all these things. Similarly, you can just range on your numbers to 1000, and then you can again work on. So these are the numbers in place of 1000. So it's just like a single line of code to execute everything. So there are things to work on. Okay. So there are the shortcuts too. So I'm not saying that just take the shortcuts run. So you should know the shortcuts too, because every time you just not have all the things to just go with the block of codes and then to work on, right? So you need to know also the shortcuts. So we'll be going there. So you can just skip this one, the prime number or not in the assignments tree, because this is based on for loop there will be working. Okay. So meanwhile, if you want to solve it like that, you can solve it. So you should know that what is SymPy there, what why you are using the SymPy module. So there is a standard definition of that. That is a Python library used for symbolic mathematics. So it aims to become a full-featured computer algebra system, CAS you call it. Okay, and while keeping the code as simple as possible. You can see it's very simple as possible, right? So this is like we do in the SymPy. Clear to everyone? Where you are. The prime number is chosen by the user. What is the code for it? What you want to the prime number is chosen by the user. All right, then what you do is it's again very simple. So see, what you'll do is you'll just take the number, let it be prime, okay, and let it be PR. The user is giving a PR number. Then you ask from the user, right? And then you'll print. Now see, there you come with a solution of that, whether it's a prime or not. How you will go to the, how we'll print it to the user there. There you check. So not check. Let's say that if the PR, okay, uh, let's say, okay, let's say SP is prime. So let's say if your just value of these things becomes true, so it is a prime number you will be displaying out. It's not, it is, you'll be saying that the PR is a prime number. Similarly, let's copy this, give it in the indentations. So you'll take an input from the user and then you will check whether the number is a prime or not. If this condition becomes true, so if your if statement becomes true, so you'll be printing this as a prime number, and if not, then it's not prime number. Let's see it whether it executes or not. So it's a non-prime number, right? So you can just work with a prime number. So yes, it's a prime number, and this is how it will work on. Clear to you, Madhu? All right. Everyone having any doubt in the section? Particularly, there are a lot of things to work in the libraries. Okay. So similarly, you can just print out that if a user gives a range, if a user just gives the starting range and the ending range, and then you can just go on like the FR, take it as first range from the user. So not writing the statements, just copying from here. So you can put on the first range or the first starting number, let's say starting number from the user. So enter a starting number. Similarly, you can take it as, let's copy, you can take it down to the ending number or the stopping. This is a stopping number, and let's just we do starting number. Okay, this is a starting number and this is a stopping number. So enter a stopping number, right? So the user will define, so what will be your range to display. So we will be displaying the so you'll be displaying the prime numbers from right. So you'll be displaying the prime numbers from the starting number, whatever the user gives, to the stopping number, whatever the user is giving you. Okay, so you'll be printing this, and then you will just writing there to be let's say list of the SP dot range, and your numbers range would be a starting number followed by the stopping number. That's all, right? So when we'll run this, we'll see where it is and from the STA and let's see what comes. Again, an invalid to the there's an comma error anywhere more. This comma there it is. So enter the starting number. Let's just take it's a kind of a 5, and my stopping number will be, let's take it 100. So I have the prime numbers from 5 to 100 like this. So you should generate your code on the basis of your. This depends totally on you how you generate your things too. Okay, understood there, guys, right? So moving ahead to the next section. So this is a library there. This kind of, you have a list of many libraries there to just work on. There are a lot of libraries. Similarly, a lot of things are there to work on, right? So moving ahead. So now let's work with the questions. You have seen how else work, how else if works. So we'll straight away just take to a question section. Just take one question from your assignment to see whether you can do or not. So from there, yeah, you can take 5 inputs from the user and find the greatest among all of them. Can do. Okay, this will be a messy for you. Okay, just give for the first the easy questions of there. Number is positive or negative, we have done there. Check the divisibility of one integer by the another integer. Yeah, you can do. You can just perform this one. That check the divisibility of one integer by another integer. Yeah, this is good. Okay, so this one you can do. Check the divisibility of an integer. Yeah, complete this and send the code in the WhatsApp. You can do, right? Anyone wants hint, I will give that hint. So you can do like that. What you have to do, see, you just take an input, okay, and take just the first input, then take the second input from the user, and just make it division and see whether the integer, or you can say just the main focus will be the focusing on the remainder portion. So if the remainder is 0, you can say that the number is divisible, and if it is not 0, you can say the just the number is not divisible. So right, okay, so just move and do this question very quickly. Could you send the PDF format? uh, I'll try to send the PDF one, don't worry. Some problems are there. I'll try to find the PDF. Okay, so you can do this question now. All right, I left the meeting there. Yeah, so you can do this question now. So send me after doing this. You can just work on these things and just write these codes and complete this one. It's very easy to do now, right? Meanwhile, if you want any help from this side, you can ask me there. No problem with that.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Adarsh.
Sir, can you explain that starting number and stopping number because it got disconnected? Connection problem is there, I think. That
See,
is why
the
it got
starting number and
disconnected.
stopping number, I have taken just the starting number from the user, and then the stopping number, that is my actually my range of whatever I'm just using in place. If the user want to give a range, so what will be there? So just the starting range and the stopping range, and then I print that the numbers from the starting range to stopping ranges. Then a list of prime range, and then the starting number what you have taken, and then stopping. So basically, you just in place of defining your own starting and stopping number, you just take a starting and stopping from the user, and then you just print all these. So similarly, from 5 to 97 has been printed in case of 5 to 100. Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right. Yes. So now you can do this question for divisibility of an integer by a second integer and work with this. Let me see there in the third one you have to check a conditions or not. Percentage alphabet character. All right. Fine. So there are a lot of questions. Let me write one by one there for you. You can also go with this one. Deepa has sent something. You can just find on whether a particular year is a leap year or not. So how to find that? Do you know the concept of a leap year? many have tried to make that an integer 1? I think you might have done now. Okay, take your time. Just do it there. Okay, try to solve it. Oh. All right. Yeah, yeah, fine. Chatra has given something. Number 1 integer, enter a number. If number is divided, divisibility factor. So like that, every number will be divided. Chatra, do one thing. Divisible. So every number will be divisible. There is not such number which is not divided. You'll be getting the values in the point, right? So just do one thing. There, in place of the division module, you just use the modulus operator. So and make it like the number 1, the modulus operator of the number 2 equals to 0. So if after the division I'm getting 0 as my remainder, uh, I didn't check for the NaN values. Yes, yes, like that exactly what Venkat has given. So for the NaN values you're asking for, I didn't check for the NaN values. Number 1, enter. Yes, someone is giving the codes here now. If number 1 is divided by 2, it's 2. Yes, exactly correct. This code is correct and this logic is correct. Correct, correct. For the next one, try to find the next one then. Number is odd or even. Similarly, the same process there also. Questions once. Yes, these are the questions. Correct, Pawan. Don't print true, like print the number is divisible by that number, and that's right. Exactly. number even not right, correct. So number is number is even. So numbers are correct. Okay, the right the next one. What about the next? Number enter numbers divided 4 equals 0 leave such that not a equals 1. All right. It's good. Okay, let me now write for every particular codes. So what about the rest one? Are you trying there? What about Arnav? Arnav has given any answers? No. Dhruv has given. No. What is your name? I think your name is Pawan, might be. Okay. Aman, I guess, sorry. Your name is Aman. So Aman, are you doing there? Or Rohit has given, I think. Someplace I saw him.
Yes, sir.
Alright. Madhu is giving. No. Alright, guys. Okay, I'm solving it. See, so for the divisibility factor, what you will do is just pass on the things. Let's take a number one and we'll take in as an input of those things. So write int and then just the input, and then we'll write enter somebody for the int. Just take a divisibility factor and you will check how that if the number 1 divides the number 2 and gives the remainder completely equals to 0, we're just printing that in1 is divisible by the n2. And if it is not giving 0, then that is 100% it's not divisible by n2. Alright. Similarly, we can check for the conditions of you can just write on like if your n2 is divisible by n1, so we'll be writing that n2. Okay, so if n2 is divisible by this and you're writing that. Alright, if you will check for first that whether this is divided by the second or not, is giving 0. So if it is not, so you'll be giving it directly to the not divisible. If it is divisible in this case, you'll be writing this. So if it's not divisible by this, you'll check for the another conditions in the elif, that whether opposite of that are divisible by not. If it's thus n2 is divisible by n1 or not. If it is so, then we'll write for that. If it is not, we'll writing for that. These things. Okay. So let's run on and we'll check a number. Let's take 5 or 2. So 5 is not divisible by 2, we'll write. Okay. So if we write is kind of, let's take any number which is not divisible by the other. Let's take as 60, and now let's take first the 30 and then the 60. So it's take 60 is divisible by 30, not 30 is divisible by 60. Alright, so did you understand what are the things right there? Okay, let's moving to the odd number and even number. So I found that number of students have done here odd and odd even number. Let's just copy a code from here. Let's just make it there, fine. So there is some indentations issue, I think. Yes. So just take an input from number and check whether this is in. So you will be printing a number is even or not on the basis of the num comma is even and then same as the num is odd. Similarly number is odd, and you'll run in this 5 or it's like something you'll be getting there, right? So these are the things. And the next one is find to whether a particular year is a leap year or not a leap year. So we'll have a codes for that. Let's take an year and let it be a input of any particular thing. I'm not giving this, not justifying the years and all these things. Let's just let it be an input. So if the year, yeah, the basic thing is that like it is divided by and gives it reminded as 0 to you, you will be printing is a kind of a, it's an usual year. Like everyone year we have, let's and like in usual year we have, right? So if it is not like that, if it's not giving a 0 to you, so you'll be checking for the elif. Let me make it up. So if the year is 100 and it's giving you to the 0, so you'll be printing particularly okay, let's do one thing. So if you check your year is divided by 100 and giving 0, meanwhile do one more thing there, just make it one more if statement inside that and also check that if it year is percentile of 400 and you get a 0 over there. So print the year is a kind of a leap year, and if not, it's not a leap year. Similarly, we'll be going in the else one. Okay, so this could be your leap year statements or program for that. So if we go for the motto behind this is that first you write an year and we'll convert this into the input function. Okay, so a year, basically a leap year is like if it is divided by 4 or however the centuries are not the leap years, right? These centuries are not. So although they are divided by 4, the centuries are also divided by the 4, but still they are not the leap years we consider as well. So the centuries when divided by still for the 400. So if it divides by 4, then you can say the leap year still there, right? So if the remainder on the division by 4 is not 0, this one. So if it is not 0, then the leap year or the year is not divided by the 4 exactly, and therefore it is an usual year for you, right? So we can exclude the just the centuries, right? So if it is a century, if it is a kind of a century, so it is divided by 400, and then you can find in that case it's a leap year, right? And if it is not divisible by 400, then in that case it's not a leap year. And in all the other cases, just apart from that, it is not divided by 4, and then all these are the leap year for you. Okay, this can run on. So let's you can run on and check whether, let's take to, there is some error. There is some indentation error, I think. So let's just take an input, let me 2030. So it's a kind of a usual year. Okay. So you'll be getting on these basis things. These are the basics of the things you'll be getting. So you are having a lot of assignments there to solve on to all these things. So okay, so we'll be doing on that. So how will we do that? You will just make a question of that. You can just write a question in the comment there as kind of a comment. Let it be. So this is your question, and then you'll write your words. Okay. So after completing your everything, you just what you do. You just click on the file or click on download the notebook file. Okay, and download. After downloading this, you can just send me on the WhatsApp or either on the mail. But write your name there. Okay. Okay. Because a lot of students send. So it make just a problematic situation to understand whose code is. Or meanwhile, you can write your notebook. You can write your name in the notebook still. So there, I can just guess out from which batch and who are you. Okay. So we get to find the leap year and not, or the number of odd or even or not, or kind of a prime number or an odd number, right? The prime number or composite you can find out, right? So these are the things you can focus on to finding from an if and else. So an if and else also work as a very important part for changing or just checking your domain out. So that is done with this use of your string method, or probably like we'll be dealing with the methods of the string list and all of the things, right? So what happens there? This kind of a company, as I said, did I say to you how the domains are checked on in the companies, right? For the Gmail or something like that. I might have said to you, I think. Did I have this conversation of the Gmail ID of how to make all those things? Yes, I can see no answer, so I might have not said. Alright. See, the if and else could be also used in various factors, like you can use it for, you can just write it as a kind of, just take a situation. What not you can do with the if else. Let's go for any of the cases you want to do with the if else, you can do it there. Okay. So let's just take a situation. Now let's just take it as a kind of that you want a user to write the exactly correct code. Okay, if, particularly he have in his mobile, right? So what company do exactly? They send the OTP to the mobile, or right, any particular mobile number, right? Then the user gives that particular OTP, and then it goes for a verification process. It mightly take just 0.1, 0.2 seconds to verify, right? So 0.001 might be okay. So what happens? Just enter the OTP. If it is correct, then it's just right correct on, and if it is not right, then it says that OTP is incorrect, right? So that can be done in any of the case. Let's see an OTP verifier. Just take these are the OTPs. Let's make anything and just verify to factor OTP. Let's see just an OTP verifier there, and let's see how it works on. So these are the OTP server provided. They exactly do nothing. See, if I just click on the try for free, I'll be asked to make an account or to just give my number over there. So let's do one thing. Just write up these things. All right. Such name over there. Alright, so just click on sign up. Let's see what comes. Any OTP coming or not. Just hope that it says for a sign up condition. Folders we are setting up. Okay, account. It did not. Yeah, there you get to verify your number. So it is saying to thanks before you start. You need to please give a mix. This is not good. They're saying to just give a miss call. Okay, I don't want this now. So yeah, things to log out. Okay. So see, if I can't access my account, what I'll do is I can't access my account. So I'll be writing my phone number there 626-333-2517, and then I'll click on the reset password. So probably my phone is I will be having just a pop-up message over there in my phone. Okay, so this I'm making the technique how this works on. See, so you know right now that how to generate the OTP, right? So what you do there for that, these are the companies just making on that, and the simple logic behind these are just that. So just the company what does is make a management. Basically, they have a good management. So better the management, better the company works on, right? So you have import random and not let's take for that. Let's take from the random import for the rand range. Let it be any 6-digit OTP. Okay, let it be any 6-digit one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Correct. Now, what we do is exactly what we do is see. We just take an input from a user particularly, right? We just take an input from a user. It can be count of, and this just see what the OTP you are getting. So I'm getting 195084. This is my OTP. Alright. Now how these things are verified? See, just take a phone number over there. Let it be a number. Okay, you are having a number, and you need to take it for a 10-digit exactly, right? So you'll be writing it as input. Enter a 10-digit mobile number. So you can now restrict your user using the if-else case, right? So these if-else are probably like to listen like no, not. Okay, fine. So these are like to be just go for a conditions on that, right? And we just make conditions over there. If you want any type of thing to be possible using, you want to make anything, you can just use the if else and make all the things done, right? So there are things, a programming section, right? What else the thing you can't do with the programming? Everything you can do that. Okay, so let's take a 10-digit mobile number and let's see it how it works. Fine, so there you come, and then what you will do is, so now if my length of my number, right, remember what this length does. So if the length of the number is not equals to 10, so if it is not equals, what I'll do is, if it is equals to 10, first take, let's take not equals to, that will be good. So if it is not equals to 10, what I'll be doing is I'll be assigning this number as num. The first thing I will be doing is number equals to none. So I'll be clearing everything inside this number. None satisfies, there is nothing in this particular variable is having nothing. Okay, so if it is not 10, so whatever the input user has given, I'll be just clearing it off. Okay, and I'll be displaying him that input 10 digit number. Alright, so I'll be saying that input 10 digit number. You might have missed out, so I'll be writing that you might have missed out some, or maybe you would have written much. Okay, so maybe the user can write more than 10 or less than 10, right? So you'll finding that if the number is first of all the less than 10 or the exactly 10. So if it is not exactly the 10, I'll be clearing it off and I'll be printing this. So what if the user number is equals to 10? So in that case, what I'll do is I'll just go to the else, and there I'll write print. Then I'll just say him that verify the OTP. Okay, now the user will give the number and then we'll verify the OTP. And after we'll learn the string, then I'll say you how you can just write it on like your number 626 and then the XXXX and then for the 2517. How can you get these things? We'll do it when we'll learn the string methods. Okay, so just now now we are just writing print verify OTP, and then we will take an input, that is my OTP, and there you will be taking input as your integer. Input. So for now, let's take just taking it as a kind of input the number sent to your mobile number, right? So now let's take just these things, right? And what I'll do is, if now again my first of all the length of my OTP is equals to not equals to 6, because we are sending a 6 digit, right? So if we have to find, we have to check for various factors to move on, right? So if my length of the OTP is not equals to 6, similarly I'll just write print over there, that is an invalid OTP. And meanwhile I will be also clearing the input the user has given, because I don't need to store the invalid things in my memory, right? Why to make my memory much? Just to remove these things. Why will I take all these things, the invalid things, while I keep it? So I'll remove the OTP equals to none over there, and then what we'll do is, so if this the user if giving an invalid, right? So if it is a correct one, I'll print that OTP verified, right? So OTP is verified. So this is a process of how OTP verifies, right? And meanwhile you can do whatever you want with these things. Now you can just give a user to just change his pin and all those things, right? So you can just write a user to just print and this is how you just thank you for using us and all this. Okay. So when you make a bank project, these are the things which focuses on to work on, right? So my OTP is 195084. So in that case, first of all, length of the OTP is not equal 6, and this is and else not else, just do one thing there, it would not work. Yes, we haven't compared. So if the OTP what the user has given is equals to the OTP what you have generated, so we're giving it as OTP verified. Okay, so if it is not a 6-digit length, then directly this, and if it is so, if the OTP is this one, this and so on, right? So if it is this and else will go there here, I'll write. So if the length of these are 6, this is not verified, will print an invalid OTP. So if the length of 6 it is not, if it is false, we'll go to the OTP, and if it is uh, correct there, so that, and in that case, yes, that's correct, invalid OTP. So let's see what comes 195084. So my number, that's right. There is something. Okay. So the object is not having any integer, right? Correct. Yes. So take it as kind of an input, an integer. Okay. Let's see. I think I'll be getting one more error. Yes. So integer, object of type integer has no length. What? OTP has object of type integer has no length at the line number 2. Let's see line number 2. If the right. Meanwhile, I should also correct this thing that before going to that, let's do one thing. Alright. So now the things should be similar, I think. So verify OTP. Now enter the OTP sent to your mobile number. Now OTP is 195084. Okay, see, it's OTP verified, and thank you for using us. Right? Why I did this one? Because I have taken the OTP in kind of a string, right? The input always takes a kind of a string, and my OTP generated is a kind of an integer, right? So I will have to make it a string also, so that I can verify these things, right? Okay, so these are the basic things we just go on with that. So if we just go for an invalid OTP, let's see whether it works or not. So meanwhile, you also check the mobile numbers also. Okay, so that these are the better case when we'll make the bank project. I'll give you a 2-day or 3-day time to make your bank project. Okay, so for that, for those days, we'll not have the classes. You will have to make your projects on that time. So there you will be having much time to just work on. Okay, so we have a 10-digit mobile number. Let's say it's 3626 and 3332517 and so on. Okay, let's run the OTP sent to a mobile number. Let's take any other OTP. Let's take an OTP just like that. It says invalid OTP. Thank you for using us. Alright. This is how it gets to it. Right. So let's run it again. So this probably does not matters to me. I can write anything over there. So if I write an invalid mobile number, it says an input 10-digit number. You might have missed out some, or you may have written much. Right. So this is kind of things you just run on. Okay. Let me run it again. Let's take in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. Someone is coming there. Who's this? Who are you? Sanjay Kumar. What's your name? right. Okay, fine. See, now you're just taking an input of this 10-digit number. Let's see what comes. So enter your verify your OTP. There, if you write a 6-digit OTP, that's take a 6-digit one, but an incorrect 195084195098. So it's again an invalid OTP, and you can just see how it works, right? Exactly. Any doubts in any of the section or any of the line number? Just see it. You are having any doubts in the particular line? These are basic things how it works out. So just what you did is you just first came and you check whether the length of these things are equals to 10 or not. If it is not equals, I'll be just verifying the numbers to be 0. Okay, and then the OTP is equals. Now, if you want to check your OTP, if it is an invalid OTP, so if this is not equals to OTP, then still you can also write that OTP equals to none. That depends on you what kind of things. So I'm taking if a user is giving an invalid OTP, that's okay. So if the user says sometimes, or it happens that an correct OTP also says an invalid OTP, that can be some technical issues. So we'll have to show that for the user. Okay. So every time we'll not should just make it clear. In case a user is giving an invalid OTP, just a length is missing out there, so we'll be just clearing it there. Okay. Yes. Any issues in that particular section? So Anitipa is asking something. Yes. You want to ask something? All right. Who? What is your name? Sanjay Kumar. Is your name Sanjay? From which batch you are? All right. So you are from Python batch. All right. Let it be. So these are the things you can make it on your own just by thinking. Just think of anything and then you can make it. It is very easy. Now, let me give you a clear idea of how the things are worked on when you upload any files on any particular website. What do you do? They specify that you would be using only a kind of a CS, let it be a PDF file. When you load your image in your Google Drive, yeah. So when you want to upload anything here, anywhere, when you click on for the, let's say you are just going for an online PAN card or online, you can say let's take you are making a PayPal account. Recently, I made one, so I know there it was asking for just upload a kind of a, verification documents, and for that they were asking for the PDF or CSV, not CSV, sorry, so PDF, JPG or PNG, but in a good format. Yeah. And the file size it's kind of less than 5 MB. So how these things work on? These also work on the basis of an if else. What are there? Thus, see. So there you just specify your files could be kind of a PDF, it can be a JPG, it can be a PNG, and it can be, it's not take much. Okay, so these can be a kind of the files, you just take it on there. Okay, and then you take input from a user that's upload something. So let's take it as, sorry, let it be a user upload, and then you take it signed, sorry, upload a file, upload, let it be upload, that's it. Okay, so this comes for the user at upload, right? And what you do is your file must be having some formats, right? So that must be having a kind of .png or that something, right? So when you load your file, it comes there and it just comes with a, you can say for it, how you come. See when you can take here, when you want to upload something over here, let's take any of the files. let's take I'm just uploading PD3. What it says there, you have, if I zoom it there, if you find that there is a file name and then the extension type, right? These are the extensions. So I'll be just canceling it. Okay. So there are the extensions over there to work on, right? Similarly, every file we having some extensions to work, right? So the user will upload. I'm not going much into the deep. I'll go it in the later sections, right? So you have the user upload, that will be input and upload of the things you want. And then what you'll do is you will be checking that if the user, okay, meanwhile what you will do is you will just split the statements by a dot over there. Okay. I'll tell you what these things do basically. Uh, we'll check whether the user upload of in the files, if it belongs to the files, then I'll print. Let's see if it comes or not. This is how it just worked for that, right? And else will give let's see my upload. I'm uploading a file, let it be my PAN card and it's PDF. Let's see what comes. So it says thank you for uploading a document, our team would reach you in 2 to 3 working days, right? Let's see if I'm uploading my bank statement. And this is a kind of a CSV now. So it says please upload files in the PDF, JPG or PNG formats. So these are the things, guys, you do with the if or else, right? A lot of things have been doing. When you work in the company, you just work on some of the portions, right? How to focus on the management or how to focus on the technical issues a person is having. Just go behind the company, just go in the depth of the company you are working on, the depth of anything or any particular thing you are working. Let's just think of anything, how it happens, right? If it happens, what is the logic behind that, right? So you are placing -1 after the user upload. Yeah, I'll be discussing that. Okay, so that is why just go with everything. When you learn things, right, when you learn the things, what you do is just go behind the very small factors on every particular topic. See what I did in here, I made a list of all the formats I would be having, and see what if I see my user upload, what I'll find that my user upload is bank statement and the CSV. So it's I have written bank statement and CSV, but it's split it down into banks statement and CSV. See the first very line I have did is, if I write the line numbers there. So in the first line I have taken a list of formats what I would be having. In the second line I have taken input the upload and then split it by the dot. So wherever I will be getting a dot, I'll be just splitting it out. Okay. So in the file, what happens when you upload it something, when you see it very clearly, every file is having an extension before a dot. Okay, so the extension comes after just the dot. So wherever I will be finding a dot over there, I'll be just splitting the file names and the extension, and then I'll check that -1 stands for that the list what has it has been generated or what has been splitted down of the user. So what the list has been came, I'll be checking that -1 stands for the last element. We'll be doing in the indexing or slicing method. I will understand how these things work. So -1 stand for the, and now is this -1 if this particular CSV, or let it be anything what the user uploads. So if this -1 lies in the category of any of these things, so I'll be giving this, and if it is not lying, so that's all. Okay. So these are the things behind how to generate email ID. So that also depends on the type of things you give. Can we do same thing for converting files from JPG to PDF? Sorry, what you need to convert there? See, these are the programming methods I am saying. Because after this, a lot of things are there to work. Okay, these are the basic things. How you can just check on whether a file is this or like that. Okay, so if this is correct, then the process goes very long there. So you just ask, you are asking that can we do the same thing for converting files from JPG to PDF? Uh, so yeah, you what you can do is first you will be checking whether you are uploading a JPG file or not. So if it is a JPG file, you just convert it into the PDF file. Now there is a lot of different method when you convert a JPG file to a PDF file in any particular things. Okay, how many assignment? Just wait 1 minute. Someone is asking something. All right, fine. So Madhu is asking for that. Okay, I'll try it. Giving you here. Let's see whether it works or not. Uh, So there you have to come with a library basically. So that is img and not htr and v2 pdf, I think. Yeah. So you write it from the pill, put the image and also the operating systems, and then let's bring the image over here. Let's just bring something there. There's india.jpg now. See, so first you define that your storing path. Alright. So my storing path will be my image path, and that would be the whatever I have written. That is particularly my India. Let me write it as .jpg, right? And this is my storing image path. Similarly, I can take my storing PDF path, and there I can write an image of PDF, right? PDF equals to then you can give your path name particularly where you want to just store it there. Okay, so for that you can just copy the path from here. So it says I want to just store it there. So let's see, these are the things, and then my image would be image, and I'll be opening it as a kind of image imag, and then okay, these PDF. Now these are have been done. Now for the converting, what you'll do is PDF of bytes is equals to img to PDF, and then you convert it particularly to an image dot the file name we have, and then the file would be equals to open, and then it's PDF of the path. Let's see whether it will working or not, because some libraries has been interchanged, but still let's check on. We have a bytes, alright, and then let's close these images and let's then print the output. Let's check. Image to PDF is not finding out. That's what the problem. I was just hoping it'll come there. So this library is not working on. Let's see. This is a library and it works on why it's not working. Alright. So see, it is just okay. These are the codes I'm writing here. These are the codes how you can just perform it. Let me run it there. Let me copy. Let's see whether it comes or not. I think it's done now. Let's see if I write img, I got it. Cannot import image from pill. So I'll have to install the pill too. So as I said, there are a lot of things to work on. So this pill will also use for your computer vision when we study the artificial intelligence or the OpenCV computer vision module. So there we study about the pill. There are pill using out there. Okay. Circuit image has requirement below, but you will have below which is incompatible. One book is alright. Still, let's focus on the thing whether it comes or not. There is some problems. Okay, I'll check it out and we'll let you know tomorrow. But still, this is a code of how you can run. Okay, let's start this and make this here as a drawback. So let it be as it is. Okay, so this is particularly the code. So I think I can sum up with this all these things how you just make just make a use of if else. There are a lot of things to do with if else. That depends on you what you want to do. Okay. So you want to eat food, you want to make your TV on, you want to make anything, you can just make the use of this if and else, and that is probably good to see. Okay, yeah, if it comes to the factors of ethical hacking, there also with the use of if else, if you have knowledge of an if else, how should you work with the conditions, so you can work there, right? The Google Forms, bank, ATM working. So if you know the very good usage of the if else, you can crack the ATM also, right? But don't go for cracking it out. Okay, so you can do all these things, right? So let me stop your